So I can't seem to find a huge amount of information on YouTube about pagan moots. I do think that they are, in theory, a good idea, and I do regularly attend one. So to start off with, let me just explain what one is. So a pagan moot being an old English term for essentially like assembly, meeting, that sort of thing, is basically when you get a bunch of pagans and they all meet up and chat. Essentially, it's just a social gathering for pagans. Nowadays, not everyone, well, people choose different terms and words and things like that that they like to use to describe themselves and their practices. I personally don't like the term pagan. I don't call myself a pagan. Other people probably would. Um, but normally these gatherings are a bunch of non-mainstream religious people. So, think of pagans, Wiccans, that sort of thing, and then magical practitioners. So people like witches, ceremonial magicians. These people may or may not be religious, but basically someone or a group of people set up a regular meeting place. Often, traditionally, it seems in a pub or tavern. At least, don't know what that was. At least that's what is the case in the UK normally. So there'll be a regularly held pagan moot in the back room of a tavern or the upstairs room of a pub. They're not normally done round the bar, given the sort of things that people talk about back in the day. Talking about any form of weird practices, whether it be paganism or witchcraft, was generally frowned upon. And even nowadays, a lot of people don't really practice out in the open. They keep their practices secret. But it is really just set up groups that meet on a regular basis, once a month, maybe even once a week. And then they talk and swap ideas. Sometimes there's themes, sometimes there's talks, workshops, that sort of thing. But again, it's normally always done in a private room in a pub. So in the city that I live in, Bristol in the United Kingdom, there are at least three. I've been to two of them. I only like one of them. And it's the only one that I regularly attend. It happens to be called the Tuesday Night Moot, and it happens every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock in Bristol. There are a couple in Bristol because, from what I understand, I'm no expert on the history of the Bristol Moots or anything, but from what I understand, there was one originally that got quite big and then fractured off, with lots of different people disagreeing on how things should be run. So the one I go to is quite an open one. Doesn't really belong to anyone. People randomly turn up, and you could be discussing all sorts of topics. It's very loose. It's not really very authoritarian, which is one of the reasons I like it, because you don't really know what you're gonna get. And it's quite a loose structure. It's really just, a group of weirdos meeting in a pub, essentially. I'm one of the weirdos, so I can say that. My one takes place above a bar in Bristol, and it's a private meeting room, so you just literally wander past the bar, up the steps, and then there's a big room that opens out, and there'll be various different people with drinks that are, talking about all sorts of things. Our one, like a lot of others, does have regular talks. So once a month they'll have an actual theme, and someone will give a presentation or a talk on something. And that can range from anything really, but it'll most likely be something magical related or pagan related. There are other ones that I have attended that haven't been in Bristol, but I haven't liked them. Mainly, the main problem with pagan moots is that there can be a lot of ego involved. There can be a lot of people that think they know a lot and in reality don't know anything. And they like to assume a role of authority and basically try and tell everyone else in the group why they're practicing the incorrectly, or why they should be held in such high regard because apparently they know everything. I don't know. I think it's little man syndrome, really. These people tend to, it's generally quite apparent. I don't like that. We don't have that at the Moot I go to, the Tuesday night Moot. No one really runs it again. And some people show up once every couple of months. Sometimes people show up once every couple of years. I try to go as regularly as possible. But I have found that in a lot of pagan moots, they're run by a specific little group of people who then kind of make it all about them. Again, I don't think pagan moots have been discussed all that much online and on YouTube and things like that. I don't know if you have them over in the United States. I would imagine you do. But they're still, I think, kind of like a secret-y kind of thing. I mean, they're not secret because they're open. Anyone can normally turn up, and they even put adverts up, like little posters and things in pubs a lot of the time saying Pagan Moot here, this time, this day, whatever. It's just something that I think is an older generation thing. It's not that there aren't younger people that go to them. It's a case of back in the day, before the internet, you would read a book or you would happen across another practitioner, another witch, or someone with a similar interest in magic. And back then, you know, it was more of a taboo than it is now. So when you meet up, you might have a group of people that would meet up and discuss certain topics, but you might meet in the basement of a bookshop or in a special room in a pub or something like that. But it's a tradition, I suppose, that's kind of continued on. And there's like in the city I live alone, there's 3 at least. There's one I've been to in the city next to where I live. That doesn't meet weekly. I think they meet monthly. Not too sure. But there are quite a lot of them in the UK, and the only thing I dislike is a little bit like psychic fairs, is that people that are brand new to this path, that are unsure of their footing and just want a little bit of information, they'll be drawn to things like this. Some moots, like I think the one I've joined or go to regularly, try not to push ideas on people. It's just a case of, okay, a bunch of people will talk about what they do, and then, you know, someone that has an interest in that sort of thing can ask questions. Some of them, in fact, I think far too many that I've noticed. A lot of people that run them tend to try to either put people off or just give them ridiculous information. Either it's a nice kind of open moot, or it's one that's run by someone that knows nothing and they're just telling you a load of bullshit. Or it's run by someone that knows something but they don't want you to know that something, so they give you a load of bullshit. So you never quite know what you're going to get. You'll often find that the quiet people at these places, the sort of people that sit at the back, not necessarily the people that are always giving the talks, generally know a lot more. So if you can get one of those people talking on a topic that you're interested in, quietly at the back, you never know what you might find out. I've met some quite interesting characters. I like them, but again, it's normally not the louder ones. If you go to a moot where there's a lot of loud people that are always getting the spotlight and that, the chances are they're shouting out loud for a reason, and it's probably because they like to be in the spotlight. And you have to think, are the things that these people are saying, are they actually practical? Are you learning anything from it. And if the answer is no, then the chances are you should just think, fuck it, I'm not going to listen. But yeah, anyway, Pagan Moot, have a little look in your area. If you run a Pagan Moot, or you've been to a Pagan Moot, or you know, you have experiences or something like that, might be nice to leave a comment down below, just because whoever happens across this might be interested. I try to read the comments, and I'd be interested to know what your experiences are. Again, I'm not going to name any names with any of the ones I've been to, but it's an interesting thing. I think you kind of have to have been to one or maybe a couple to really get a feel for what they're like. But again, the principle of people, you know, meeting up to share knowledge is a great thing. It's just that, again, a structure like that can be abused, and you know, you get idiots anywhere. So paganism, witchcraft, magic's no different. There's going to be idiots involved in in this. But anyway, that's what I think anyway. So see if you've got any locally, and if you go to one, write what happens down below in the description, in the comments.